Well, welcome. We have a lot to talk about. Big things, wonderful things, important things. I'd like to read you something that I wrote a long time ago. See, I've been on kind of a path, I guess you could say, that's led me to here. And now I want to tell the story of it. Because apparently, it's real. It's a real, true story. And it goes deep. We have to talk about deep things. So, I'll read you something I wrote quite a while ago. And all along the way, I've been on this path that's led to here. So I write, for my own sanity, I write my truth. That I may look back and remember the path I walked to here. I will wonder if, in so many ways, what is, and what must have been, and what is now, is still the path. Yes, that night flowed like destiny, each moment like an inevitable character flawlessly playing their part. Myself a willing participant, like charismatic improv. What is the truth of it all? I asked myself nervously, my suspicion alluding to tonight being merely a continuation of that same deep fundamental argument. Abracadabra. The words may well have been spoken by a magician. The signature of a divine argument manifest. What am I? But lies of what I tell myself I am. That I at my truest self am that which is observable. What is observationably true? The action of tangible, visible reality. I work, I eat, I try to sleep, I awaken only to living nightmares, the sun illuminating the fragile walls, separating us from the devouring pull of the maw. Like rats in a cage, a rat subjugated and subjected to purpose unknown to it. Certainly I reject it. Is it not certainly that we gather ourselves to prove our rejection of it? Why else should we muster against the sun? The writings of a madman, probably, right? That was apparently March 14th, 2015. Things I forgot I wrote. But things that have been swirling around, and I inevitably am on this path no matter what I try to do. This brings us to here, brings us to now. It seems like everything in my life had this purpose. This is an interactive series meant to get you to think about some things that maybe you've been avoiding or neglecting. And we're going to get straight into it. And first things first, we're going to talk about the nature of conflict. Let's talk about conflict. The human race, flawed as it is, has its merits, doesn't it? Oh, we're a broken, terrible people, we're evil, things happen, we do stuff, we make mistakes. But we have our merits, don't we? special being alive. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I hate it, and most of the time I'm horrified by it. I don't know what you think. What does it mean to be human? Do you have an answer for that? Is there an answer for that? Do we have souls? Is there a God? Maybe physics is all there is. If you want to take, the atheist perspective, which I did, still like to do, maybe physics is all there is. When we die, that's it, that's over. And we're just victims of chemistry, genetics. It's fine. Religious people like to say, well, if that's your perspective, well, then life doesn't have any meaning. And if you're an atheist, you argue back and you say, well, I'm not waiting to die to find meaning. Everything has meaning. Right now it has meaning. Live. It's not meaningless. Just because it eventually ends doesn't mean it didn't have value. You get hungry, you eat something, you'll get hungry again. Aren't you grateful for the meal that you had? We love to argue. Now you see, whatever your response is puts you in conflict with the atheist, puts you in conflict with religious people, with everyone. Anytime you take a stance, you're in conflict. You have to defend yourself, get one over on the other. Maybe you feel like maybe you're in conflict with me right now. That I'm trying to convince you of something, and you feel compelled to convince me of your truth. Do you expect me to argue with you? How quickly we turn to argument, to shouting, to conflict. Yet, surprisingly, we all collectively desire unity. We desire agreement. And all we do is argue. It's comical. It's like that meme you see online of a rock. It's like, here, let's argue about it, because we'll obviously argue about anything. Here's a picture of a rock. And people do. Well, we can't have it both ways, can we? We love to argue. I am formally inviting you to join me on a journey for the truth. And as we go, there needs to be some semblance of rules. We need to be mindful of the nature of conflict as we go. Because it's not me versus you in this place, in this series. But I want to get to the end of it with you. I want you to save up your opinion and save up your judgment for me for the end. And it shouldn't take too long, just a little bit of an investment to get there. And you will be changed by it. You will see things that you didn't think you'd see. Right in front of your eyes. It's going to be interesting and deep. And we're going to talk about deep things. And we're going to find answers. Unexpected answers. So I promise you I'm not leading you down some rabbit hole that isn't worth your time. It's for real. I'm talking about the truth and the journey that we're going to take to get there. I have some very special things to reveal to you. So I hope you stay with me. But continuing on the topic of conflict, let's talk about religion. Certainly you wouldn't feel compelled to argue, right? What a stumbling block it is for us humans. Oh, how we love to argue about religion, don't we? We must. We do it all the time. If you get 10 Christians in a room together, you'll have 10 different versions of who God is and what the Bible means. You know, there are 45 to 47,000 different denominations of Christianity. One book, one God. 47,000 different denominations. Oh, we love to argue. And that's just Christianity. You know, there's other religions, Orthodox religions, other than Christianity. That may come as a surprise to most Americans. There's other religions in the world. How many denominations of Orthodox religions do you think are active in the world today? It's over 47,000, so maybe millions? Could we get to millions? Maybe there's millions. I don't know. I like to argue about religion, though. What do you think the number is? I only looked up Christianity, so you'd have to tell me. I'd like for you to imagine for a moment. Let's take a little magical trip here to the top of a special mountain. And on this mountain, you can see out over all the earth into the hearts and minds of every living person on the planet. It's a special mountain. Let's imagine that you're there. Meditate with it. Take a deep breath at the top and soak it all in. You're looking into the hearts and minds of every single person on planet Earth alive today. You know what they believe, what religion they participate in, and how they were raised. Imagine that you could. Imagine that you are doing that. Having witnessed everyone in a state of omnipotence, do you feel compelled to correct the ones that are wrong? Well, you know now. You've seen it. You've been inside their hearts and minds and maybe souls, if you want to look at it that way. Do you feel compelled to correct the ones that have it wrong? Well, they're wrong. See those guys over there? They're wrong, and these guys, they're more right, but they're wrong too in some ways. And that guy's wrong over there, and that lady's crazy. What do you do? You're on the magic mountain. You've seen it all, the entire earth, everybody on it. Who do you tell? Who do you tell? It's not that far-fetched. You know, the way technology is, everything's on video and everything's recorded. There's algorithms that can tell you more about yourself than your fucking spouse could. Yeah, really, honestly, you know, omnipotence isn't even that far-fetched anymore. Just imagine that you did it. Who do you tell? What do you say? What do you say to that? Knowing the hearts and minds of every living person on the earth. Would you feel compelled to pray, having experienced that, knowing that? Suppose if you're religious, you know, if you're an atheist, no, I don't suppose I would feel compelled to pray, because I wouldn't believe in it. It's easy. But if you're religious, maybe you would. Maybe you'd feel compelled to pray to whatever God you believe in. And maybe you would say, "Oh God, I have seen all the hearts of men, and they are deceived and confused. Let them see the truth and be removed from quarrel." Does that sound good? Does that sound like maybe a good prayer? Maybe you already prayed that. Maybe if you're religious, spiritual, you just feel that already. Doesn't matter. Does it sound good? I don't know. Would you like that to be true? I suppose if we're going to talk about all the hearts and minds and things that are alive on this planet that engage in religion, we should probably incorporate monkeys. Jungle monkeys, actual, literal jungle monkeys. They engage in primitive religious activities. Some groups of monkeys have been observed to place these skulls of other animals as well as other artifacts, stones and whatnot, at the base of trees in which they occupy. What do you make of that? Is that God speaking through monkeys? Does God have some sort of special religion for jungle monkeys? I don't know. Elephants bury their dead. Corvids. You know what a corvid is? Blue jays, crows, ravens, magpies. They're spooky. They're spooky little bastards flying around all over the place, and they do spooky stuff. You have permission to speculate on what they're up to. I don't know, do they have religion? Do they argue about it? If there was a God, does God have empathy? That's a pretty good question, considering our omnipotent adventure on top of the mystical mountain. Does God have empathy? If there's a God, does he have empathy? Or is that strictly a human trait? Well, I'll tell you from the atheist perspective that we invent gods, and gods are typically a reflection of ourselves in some way, or our culture. So if we all invented God, then God would probably have empathy. But it's a good question. If there's a God, is he empathetic? You know, I hear quite often from Christians and religious people about God's love and mercy. You can't beat God's mercy. Oh, God's so merciful. He's merciful. He's the most merciful God in the universe. His understanding is beyond human comprehension. Does God have empathy then, would you say? Do you know what the definition of it is? You know, the word, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard, empathy. I can hear every time I say it. Half the internet wants to tear my head off for mentioning it. So I'll read you the definition. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feeling, thoughts, and experiences of another person from their perspective. Does that make sense? The ability to understand and share in the feeling, thoughts, and experiences of another person from their perspective. Empathy. It's a textbook definition. Webster's Dictionary. It's a controversial word. A lot of people don't like the word empathy. They say it's made up. It's a made up word, they say. Charlie Kirk was not a fan of empathy. Not surprising either. Mr. Musk, not a fan of empathy. Thinks it's a weakness. Many billionaire technocrats feel the same way. In fact, one terrible, evil pastor who's probably from hell if there is such a thing, Joe Regini, said that empathy was a moral hazard and people can be guilty of, quote, the sin of empathy. Do you believe that? It's true. That's their opinion. What's your opinion? This isn't the end. See, I'm still holding you to this journey about the nature of conflict. It's important. It's that important. So I'm asking you all these very controversial things, these argument-inducing questions, and at the same time I'm asking you to separate yourself from conflict and argument. Now you see that's kind of a bit of a test, isn't it? Do you have the strength and fortitude in you to listen, to consider thoughtfully, and suspend, not eliminate, but suspend your desire to punch me square in the face with your opinion? Because all we're talking about here right now is the nature of conflict. I'm asking you not to be a toddler for a moment through this series and contain yourself while we explore some very deep ideas in our journey to the truth. And along the way, I'm going to insist that we check in with ourselves and not get down into the weeds on some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to save it to the end, and then you get to tell me if I told you the truth or not and what your opinion is, and you get to judge me all you want. But for right now, it's a period of delayed gratification. Okay? But we're going to get into some very deep things. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, take a breath. So we're going to get there. And you will be surprised.